You've been learning how to draw walls, doors, and windows. Well, what about all the stuff that goes into those? Plumbing, casework, furniture. Well, this video is going to show you how to use some of the other drawing tools to create basic plan view objects. So we are going to be revisiting line, arc, and rectangle, but we're also going to go over circle, ellipse, as well as multi-sided shapes. We will also have some playtime with our friends the mirror command, copy command, rotate command, fillet with round corners, and the extend command. We're even going to learn a little about blocking line work together. Isn't this exciting? Well, we have a lot to cover, so I want to get started by talking a little bit more about what we're trying to accomplish and why. So one of the most important rules of creating floor plans for CD sets is that the objects you see are meant to be accurate in measurement, but more representational in their looks. There really are two different types of design drawings. There's the technical drawings, like what we do in CAD, and then there's presentational drawings. You know, the pretty renderings or photorealistic models that you do for clients. CD sets are not presentational, and you should never draw them as though they were. Contractors and installers are the people who are going to be using these drawings, and they don't want no fancy schmancy drawings to do their jobs with. So CD sets are printed in black and white and should be simple, readable, and communicate well. So everything we do moving forward in this series is going to be and do just that. Now, when drawing floor plans, you have to remember that it means that we are looking down on the plan as though we're flying above it. Heights of objects don't matter, only their width and length. So whether you have a high table or a low coffee table, the client will never know unless they see pictures of the furniture or the elevations. Now, if you don't know what furniture, fixtures, or equipment should look like in plan view, GTS, that means Google that stuff. So when I teach design students, I try to teach them to be resourceful. And of course, you can always ask teachers for help, but when you're out in the real world, the teachers aren't going to be there. And trust me when I say your boss doesn't want to be bothered answering your questions all the time. So get into the habit of being resourceful. One of the best tools for resourcefulness is Google. Try Google before you ask anybody questions, because I'm guaranteed that you're going to find all the answers that you need are really at your fingertips. It's okay to use Google, and I'm going to repeat that. It's okay to use Google. Honestly, I didn't know this when I was a junior designer, and I ended up really annoying the people that I worked with all of my silly questions. So learn from my rookie mistakes, okay? Don't depend on others to find what you need. You can do it yourself, and I'm going to help you develop the skill throughout this video series. So let's start now. Like if we go to Google and we look up floor plan furniture. And I'm going to hit images, and then you can see all of these different images of what furniture looks like when it's in floor plan view. It's really kind of great. And this one is super great because it's very simple, yet you can tell what everything is. Can you pick out the beds, for instance, the door, the sink, the bathtub? Yes, everything communicates well. This is a stand-in shower right here with the X. This is a stove, sofa, chair, lounge, plants. Look at that right there. So you can see how to draw these objects simply, yet it communicates what the object is. So remember, not only do you have to communicate it, but you also have to draw it with realistic measurements of these objects. Now, I do want to point out that there are some furniture companies out there like Knoll, or plumbing companies like Kohler, that already have CAD drawings that you can actually download and use in your drawings. So I always recommend Kohler for if you're needing plumbing fixtures for AutoCAD, because they have the best fixtures, and pretty much everybody sells Kohler these days. But if you come all the way down, you can see there's a spec sheet which will give you all of the dimensions that you need if you wanted to draw it, but they have CAD files. So you can download the DWG of it in plan view, the front, side, or even three-dimensional CAD files. But let's do the plan view. And what it does is it downloads over here in this bottom ribbon, and I'm going to click on it, And yeah, it's an Autodesk student version of the product. Continue opening the DWG file, and look, there is a toilet already drawn for you, so you can actually copy this object and place it into your drawing. Well, let's do that. Let's learn the copy command, shall we? Well, to do the kind of copy that you need to get this, it's kind of like word copy. It's Control-C and Control-V. So I'm going to put a green selection box, grab that toilet. I'm going to do a Control-C. Or you can come here to the clipboard, because for some reason that popped up. So clipboard, copy. Sometimes I like to do copy with a base point. And I'll just kind of copy it off of my cursor. So I'm not going to put my cursor on it. I'm actually going to put it away. And then I'm going to come back to my ID template, and then I'm going to Control V. And you'll see that that toilet inserts right into the drawing. And look, it's still the same distance away from my cursor. So I can just click to plunk it down, and there is the toilet. That's awesome, right? So that's a quick glimpse into what the clipboard can do. So finding objects that are actually already drawn out in the real world is actually going to save you a lot of time and energy drawing. So I always recommend things like toilets, sinks, any specific fixtures or furniture that your client wants to use. Go to that company's website and see if they have any CAD files. It can also be known as Cad Blocks. Of course, if they don't, it's your job as the interior designer to research the sizes of these objects and then recreate them using AutoCAD. All right, well, enough with the lecturing. Let's get on to drawing some stuff, huh? All right, so let's draw a basic dining room table and chair set so that you understand how to do some of the commands that I mentioned at the very beginning of this video. Let's start with tables. There's a lot of different basic tables that you can create. Let's start first with the rectangle. Up here in the drawing command, there is the rectangle, but before we do this, what do we need to do first? We need to change our layer. So I'm going to come over here to the layers panel, click on this little scroll bar, and what layer do we need to draw furniture? It's actually I furniture. So A stands for architectural, I is for interiors. Very rarely does an architect ever have to deal with furniture, but us interior designers do. So I furn is what we're looking for. So go ahead and click that. It is a dark blue. It might be a little hard to see on your screen, so you might need to brighten up a little bit. But it is a dash dot layer, so you'll see where the layer actually shows up as dashes and dots, but that's okay because that's what it's supposed to do. All right, so now let's go over to the rectangle command, and it says specify the first corner. I'm going to go about right here, and I'm going to work my way down. Now, before I go any further and before I click again to kind of solidify this rectangle, I want to create real world dimensions. So down in the command bar, do you see where it says area, dimensions, and rotations? You guessed it, we got to type D for dimensions in order to give this rectangle the dimensions that we want. So D, enter. So the length is going to be the horizontal lines. So that would be 3 feet is what we're going to do. Enter. And then the width is the up and down part of the object. And so we're going to do 6 foot for that. So 6 apostrophe, enter. And there you see that we have a 6 foot by 3 foot rectangle. All right, don't forget that it's trying to tell you what quadrant do you want to place this rectangle, and I'm just going to choose one. It doesn't really matter. Click to place it and you're good to go. Now this table has some pretty pointy corners, and I'm just going to highlight this so that you can see it better. See the dash dot lines that I was talking about? That's perfect. Dash dot indicates that it is furniture, that it's movable, and it's not built into anything. So just remember that. Alright, so these are very pointy, and if some kid comes running down the hallway and smacks right into it, they could poke their eye out, and we don't want that, right? So let's round these corners a little bit. We do that with the Fillet command, actually. So this is what Fillet actually is supposed to do. I just use it as a cheat to help me close lines on walls. So I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to click Fillet. Now it wants me to select the first object. However, do you see down at the bottom in your command bar, there are again more options. Many of these modify buttons are going to have options for you to kind of play with. So if I didn't do the radius, which is R, see how that R is blue down there? If I didn't type R for radius first and change the radius, it's automatically set to 0. So you would see no changes. So let's make some changes. Let's type R for radius before we do anything. And let's specify this fillet radius. Let's do 3 inches. So 3, and that's all I need to type. Hit enter. Now it's saying select your first object. Click. And now it says select your second object. Click. Oh my goodness, look at what it did. It curved that corner beautifully. Let's try that again. Remember that you can use the spacebar to repeat the last command you made. And what's also great is that Fillet remembers the last radius you put into it. So we don't even have to type R for radius anymore. We can just click the first object and we can click the second object. Oh, that's gorgeous. Let's do the top part. Remember, I'm using pan and zoom with my third wheel so that I can get in close. There's no need to work this far away, guys. Get in close so that you can see what you're doing. All right, spacebar. Select the first object. Select the second one. It doesn't matter which one you choose, it's going to round that off. So you can play with the radius dimensions if you want to get a bigger or smaller radius, but 3 inches is pretty good for this size. So spacebar, click and click. Now our table has rounded edges. That's gorgeous and beautiful. All right, I'm going to hit escape and I'm going to show you how to do a circle just in case you want to do a circle table. So circle's located up in the drawing panel, 2 over from line. I'm going to click on circle and notice that it says specify center point for your circle. So I'm going to click and drag, and you'll notice that it's asking for a dimension for the radius. So the default circle is a radius circle. So remember that radius is half of the circle dimension. Diameter is the full length of the circle. So I'm going to choose 2'6" as my radius, so 2'6", enter, and there is a 5-foot diameter table or a 2'6" radius table. Now, if I go back up to circle, there's a little arrow right underneath it. If you want to draw a circle using any of these, you certainly can. I always stick with the default, which is center radius, and it works the best for what my needs are. You are free to choose whichever one that you want, and you are free to play with them at any time that you would like to. Pause the video and take a peek at how each one of those circles works when you draw them. Alright, so we have a circle table. Now what happens if we want kind of more of a oval table? That would be an ellipse. So the ellipse is located right underneath the rectangle. I'm going to click on it, and it works very similarly to the circle at first, but an ellipse actually has 2 radiuses. So know that as soon as you click to specify the center, you need to tell it what your first radius is going to be and then what the second radius is going to be. So I'm going to click and drag my mouse. My finger's not down dragging, I'm just clicking, and it just wants to know what radius do I want this to be. So I'm going to do 3 feet is a radius, because then that'll give me 6 feet, right? Total length. 3 feet, enter. And then you can kind of see as you move your cursor in towards the center, it makes it long and skinny, and then as you move your cursor out of the center, it makes it kind of long and fat. So it's up to you to decide, but just know that this is your second radius. I am going to do, let's do 2'6" again. 2'6". Actually, let's just do 2 feet. 2 foot. 2', enter. Oh, that gives us kind of a really nice egg-shaped table right there. Look at that. What I like about ellipses and circles is that it has a center grip, so if I want to move it easily, I can just grab it and move it over. Alright, now what happens if I have a table that I want to be circular, but I also want it to have flat edges around it? That would be a polygon table. Polygon is located underneath a rectangle. In that little arrow just to the right of rectangle, you can find the polygon, and it wants to know how many sides do you want for this table. So I'm going to choose 6. 6, enter. Now it says specify center of polygon. Do you see how some of these are very similar in how you draw them? Now this part I've never understood because it wants to know if you want to inscribe it in a circle or circumscribed about a circle. And honestly, I've never seen a circle. I have no idea what it's talking about. So I just hit enter, and then it wants to know what radius do you want. So let's do 2'6", since that's kind of what we've been doing this whole time. 2'6", enter. And there is our 6-sided table. Isn't that gorgeous? Now also with Polygon, you don't even have to type in the numbers. We'll do a 6-sided table again, specify the center, whatever, and then you can drag your mouse or, move your mouse around, and then you can kind of change the angle that it's at or the size pretty easily. But I like doing real world dimensions, so that's the table that it gave me.